Have you ever felt like life is happening to you instead of because of you? Like no matter how hard you try, something keeps pulling you back. Your past, your habits, your fears, your excuses. Today, that stops. Because there is one secret, one shift that separates people who wish for a better life from those who take control and build it. If you're tired of watching your life from the sidelines, if you're ready to take the steering wheel back, then stay with me because what you're about to hear can genuinely change everything. Number one, awareness is the first door to power. Awareness is not just a concept, it is the very foundation of personal transformation. It is the turning point between living life on autopilot and stepping into a life of intentional creation. Most people move through the world reacting to circumstances, reacting to emotions, reacting to old stories that no longer serve them. They wake up, go through the motions, and repeat yesterday on loop, unaware that the invisible patterns running their life are silently shaping their destiny. But awareness disrupts that loop. Awareness shines a light on what has been hiding in the dark corners of your mind, your fears, your excuses, your beliefs, your habits, and once you see them clearly, they lose their power over you. You cannot fight an enemy you cannot see. You cannot change a story you have not acknowledged, and you cannot reclaim your life until you first recognize what is truly controlling it behind the scenes. True awareness requires honesty at a level most people avoid. It demands that you face the things you've been distracting yourself from, the habits you know are holding you back, the emotions you never learned to process, the limiting beliefs you inherited without questioning, the roles you play because you think you're supposed to. It means confronting the small lies you tell yourself daily. I'll start tomorrow. This is just how I am. I can't help it. I don't have time. Things will get better eventually. These are not truths. They are protective shields your mind creates to prevent discomfort. But discomfort is where growth begins. When you stop hiding from what is real and start observing your life objectively, you unlock an entirely new level of personal power. You begin to see that your struggles are not random. Your patterns are not accidents. Your outcomes are not coincidences. They are the results of choices, many of them unconscious, made over time. Awareness means becoming a witness to your own life. It means noticing how you react when things get hard. It means noticing the thoughts that surface when you face uncertainty. It means noticing which emotional states you default to: stress, frustration, fear, procrastination, and understanding that these states are not your personality. They are patterns you rehearsed until they felt familiar. When you observe your life without judgment, you begin to recognize where the real problem is. It's not the world. It's not other people. It's not circumstances. The real challenge lies in the internal programming that has been silently dictating your decisions. And once you see that programming clearly, you reclaim the power to rewrite it. Awareness is the first door to power because it reconnects you with responsibility. Not the kind of responsibility that weighs you down, but the kind that liberates you. When you realize that your thoughts can be changed, your emotions can be regulated, your habits can be rebuilt, and your identity can be redefined, you rise above the story you've been living in. You stop waiting for life to shift because you finally understand that the shift begins with you. Number two, emotion is the steering wheel of your life. Emotion is not a small part of your life. It is the invisible force steering everything you do, everything you avoid, and everything you become. People like to believe their choices are driven by logic, but the truth is far more profound. Logic informs, but emotion drives. Emotion is what gets you out of bed or keeps you stuck under the covers. Emotion is what gives you the courage to take a risk or the hesitation to hold back. Emotion is the energy behind every action, every decision, every habit. Your emotions are the steering wheel, and whether you realize it or not, they are guiding the direction of your life every single day. When you understand this, you begin to see why two people with the same opportunities end up with completely different outcomes. It's not because one is smarter or luckier. It's because one learned to steer their emotional state while the other allowed their emotional state to steer them. Most people live in emotional autopilot. They wake up and instantly fall into the same emotional patterns they felt yesterday. Stress, worry, frustration, overwhelm, without realizing that these states are choices reinforced over time. They believe their emotions are reactions to life, when in reality their emotions are often pre-programmed responses to patterns they've built unconsciously. If you constantly feel anxious, your body is rehearsing anxiety. If you constantly feel defeated, your mind has memorized defeat. If you constantly hesitate, your nervous system has built a habit of hesitation. You are not born with these patterns. You build them through repetition. But the moment you understand that emotions are not fixed traits, but learned states, you reclaim the ability to choose differently. When you learn to take charge of your emotions, you unlock a level of power most people never experience, because your emotional state determines your mental clarity. Your emotional state determines your level of confidence. Your emotional state determines how much action you take, how much risk you tolerate, how much belief you allow yourself to hold. Think about it. The same goal looks impossible in a state of fear and exciting in a state of passion. The same opportunity feels threatening in a state of doubt and empowering in a state of certainty. Your external world didn't change. Your internal state did. That is the true power of emotional mastery. It turns obstacles into challenges, challenges into opportunities, and opportunities into breakthroughs. Learning to control your emotions is not about suppressing them or pretending to be positive all the time. It's about becoming intentional. It's about recognizing that you can shift your state through your physiology, your focus, and your language. You can change your breathing and instantly calm panic. You can shift your focus and instantly transform fear into motivation. You can change the words you use and instantly create courage where weakness used to stand. When you take control of your emotional state on purpose, you stop living by reaction and start living by creation. You stop waiting for the world to give you strength and start generating it from within. And when you do that consistently, you begin to steer your life toward the future you want rather than the past you've been repeating. Number 3, state before strategy. Most people believe that the secret to changing their life lies in having the perfect plan, the perfect roadmap, or the perfect opportunity. They obsess over strategies, routines, techniques, and step-by-step systems, thinking that if they can just figure out the right method, everything else will finally fall into place. But the truth is far simpler and far more profound. Strategy means nothing if your state is weak. Your mental, emotional, and physical state is the foundation upon which every strategy either stands strong or collapses. You can hand 2 people the exact same plan. One thrives and the other fails, not because the plan was different, but because the person executing it was in a completely different state. When your state is powerful, even an imperfect strategy can create momentum. When your state is drained, stressed, or fearful, even the best strategy in the world becomes useless. Think about a time when you were energized, confident, and fully present. In that state, you didn't overthink, you acted, you didn't second guess, you trusted yourself, you didn't hesitate, you moved forward. Now compare that to a time when your state was low, when you were tired, overwhelmed, or discouraged. The same tasks that once felt easy now felt heavy. The same goals that once felt exciting now felt distant. The same opportunities that once looked possible suddenly seemed out of reach. Nothing in the external world changed, but your internal state did, and that shift altered everything. This is why state must come before strategy. Your state determines your resourcefulness, your creativity, your confidence, your resilience, and your ability to follow through. Without the right state, even the greatest ideas remain unexecuted. People often blame lack of strategy for their lack of progress, but the real issue is that they're trying to build success on top of a disempowering state. They think, if I just had a better plan, I'd finally be motivated. But it works the other way around. Motivation doesn't come from a plan, it comes from the emotional fuel behind the plan. A disempowered state makes you hesitate, question, procrastinate, and settle. A powerful state makes you bold, committed, clear-minded, and unstoppable. This is why some people try for years to change their life, yet nothing shifts, because they are trying to execute new strategies with the same old state. They are trying to create transformation with the same emotional patterns that kept them stuck in the first place. Mastering your state is not about pretending to be positive or hyping yourself up artificially. It's about conditioning your mind and body to operate from a place of strength on command. It means learning how to shift your physiology, your breathing, your posture, your movement, so you can elevate your energy instantly. It means training your focus to look toward possibilities instead of limitations. It means choosing language that empowers instead of weakens. When you shift your state first, everything else becomes easier. Decisions become clearer. Problems shrink. Solutions appear. And the strategies you once struggled with suddenly feel natural because you're no longer trying to force progress. You are aligned with it. Number 4, the power of decision. The moment of decision is the moment your life begins to change. Not someday, not eventually, not when conditions are perfect. Change begins the instant you decide with absolute certainty that things will no longer remain the same. Most people don't truly understand the power held within a single decision because they confuse wishing with deciding. They think wanting something is the same as committing to it, but wanting is passive while deciding is active. Wanting keeps you in the realm of hope, while deciding demands action, responsibility, and follow-through. A real decision closes the door to who you were and forces you to step into who you must become. When you make a true decision, you cut off every escape route to your old habits, your old excuses, your old patterns. You stop negotiating with your limitations and start aligning with your potential. A powerful decision doesn't come from your circumstances, it comes from your standards. It's the moment you raise the bar on what you will tolerate from yourself. It's the moment you look at your life and say, I refuse to live like this another day. That level of decision creates a shift deep inside you, a shift in identity, in energy, in direction. It doesn't matter how big the goal is or how far the journey seems. Once the decision is made, the path begins to unfold because your mind starts searching for solutions instead of excuses. You stop asking if you can, and you begin asking how you can. That single shift changes everything. History is filled with individuals whose destiny changed, not because they found a perfect plan, but because they made a decision that left no room for turning back. Most people stay stuck because they make soft decisions. They decide until it becomes uncomfortable. They decide until fear shows up. They decide until the path requires discipline. But a true decision is not conditional. It doesn't depend on convenience or mood. It doesn't dissolve the moment resistance appears. A true decision means you are committed whether you feel like it or not. It means you will keep moving when motivation fades, when obstacles rise, when others doubt you, when the old you tries to pull you back into familiar patterns. A true decision is fueled by resolve, not emotion. It's a declaration that your future will not be dictated by your past. It's choosing a direction and refusing to be moved from it. The power of decision becomes even more profound when you realize that every decision, no matter how small, shapes your identity. The decision to wake up early, to start the business, to change your body, to heal your mind, to break a toxic cycle, each one reinforces a new version of you. Decisions build patterns, and patterns build identity, and identity builds destiny. When you repeatedly make decisions that align with the future you want instead of the past you've lived, you begin to transform at the level that matters most. You start to see yourself as capable, disciplined, deserving, unstoppable, and once your identity shifts, your entire life follows because you no longer act from who you were, but from who you've decided to become. Number 5, identity drives destiny. Your identity is the invisible blueprint that shapes every action you take, every belief you hold, and every result you create. People often try to change their life by changing their habits, their goals, or their environment, but without changing their identity, those shifts never last. You cannot consistently act in a way that contradicts who you believe yourself to be. If you see yourself as someone who quits, you will quit. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will struggle. If you see yourself as someone who doesn't deserve success, you will sabotage it the moment it shows up. Your identity is like a thermostat that regulates the temperature of your life. Even if you temporarily heat things up with motivation, strategy, or excitement, if your identity is set to a lower level, you will eventually return to the old temperature. That is why transformation begins not with effort, but with a shift in identity. Identity is built from the stories you tell yourself. Stories shaped by your past, your environment, your failures, your achievements, and the labels people gave you. Over time, you internalize these stories until they feel like truth, even when they are nothing more than repeated thoughts. When you say, "I'm just not disciplined," "I've always been unlucky," "I'm not confident," "I'm not good enough," these are not facts. They are identities you've accepted. And because identity shapes behavior, your mind works tirelessly to prove these stories right. Not because they empower you, but because the mind craves consistency. It will sabotage opportunities, relationships, and dreams just to preserve the identity it knows. This is why people can get motivated, make progress, even experience breakthroughs, and still end up back where they started. Their identity pulled them back into alignment with the familiar. The moment you realize that identity is not fixed, everything changes. Identity is not something you are born with. It is something you build through repetition and reinforcement. The same way you once built an identity that limited you, you can build an identity that frees you. It begins with choosing new standards for yourself, standards that reflect who you want to become, not who you have been. When you intentionally decide to be the person who follows through, the person who takes action, the person who speaks with confidence, the person who honors their goals, your behaviors begin to shift. You start doing things not because you feel like it, but because they are consistent with the identity you are stepping into. Identity creates alignment, and when your identity aligns with your vision, momentum becomes natural rather than forced. Identity drives destiny because once you redefine who you are, your decisions, habits, environment, and relationships naturally adjust to support the new version of you. You begin to attract opportunities that match your upgraded internal blueprint. You begin to say yes to things that elevate you and no to things that drain you. You stop apologizing for wanting more because your new identity expects more. You stop doubting yourself because your new identity trusts itself. As your identity expands, your world expands with it. You rise into the level of success, confidence, discipline, and purpose that once felt out of reach because you have become the person capable of living it. Number 6, repetition rewires reality. Repetition is the secret force behind every mastery, every transformation, and every extraordinary achievement. Most people underestimate its power because they expect results to come from inspiration, motivation, or a single dramatic breakthrough. They look for shortcuts, hacks, or magic moments. But the truth is that lasting change does not happen in a single action. It happens in the repeated actions that build patterns, and patterns shape identity. Every skill you've ever learned, every habit you've ever formed, and every belief you've ever internalized came from repetition. You became who you are today through the things you did over and over again, whether consciously or unconsciously. The same principle works for the life you desire. By consciously repeating empowering behaviors, thoughts, and decisions, you rewire your mind, your body, and ultimately your reality. Repetition is more than mere practice. It is deliberate practice. It is the act of choosing to do something consistently with focus, intent, and purpose until it becomes automatic. When you repeat an action, you don't just train your muscles or skills. You train your nervous system. You create neural pathways in your brain that make the behavior easier, more natural, and more permanent. That is why elite performers, world-class leaders, and high achievers emphasize the power of rituals and daily routines. They know that mastery is not an accident. It is the outcome of repeated effort over time. Repetition ingrains habits that become part of who you are, and who you are dictates what you do naturally, even when motivation fades or obstacles arise. The power of repetition also applies to your thoughts and beliefs. Every thought you think repeatedly strengthens certain neural connections and weakens others. When you repeatedly tell yourself, "I can't," or "I'm not enough," you are reinforcing an identity of limitation. Conversely, when you repeatedly affirm your capability, your discipline, and your worth, you are reshaping your mental wiring to support growth, resilience, and success. The mind does not distinguish between reality and what is rehearsed enough times. It responds to patterns. That is why changing your inner dialogue, your focus, and your rituals consistently is so critical. Your repeated mental and emotional practices create a new default state, a new standard, a new lens through which you see the world and yourself. Repetition rewires reality because it turns effort into automaticity, struggle into skill, and vision into habit. Every repeated action compounds over time, creating momentum that multiplies results exponentially. You don't rise to the level of motivation. You fall to the level of your consistent actions. The small repeated steps you take each day, practicing discipline, making better choices, maintaining your energy, showing up for yourself, become the architecture of your future. Patterns shape identity. Identity shapes behavior, and behavior shapes destiny. When you commit to repetition with focus and intention, you are not just practicing a skill. You are literally reprogramming your mind, your body, and your life to operate at a higher level than ever before. The truth is simple. You are the creator of your life. Master your emotions, make bold decisions, step into the identity you want, and repeat the actions that move you forward. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take control today and watch your life transform.